Williams made headlines or dominated headlines still following the incident at the US Open final. She called umpire Carlos Ramos a liar, a thief and sexist. Williams confronted Ramos after he gave her a warning. He later handed out a second code violation for racquet abuse along with a point penalty. A day later, a cartoon circulated of Williams, and it was drawn by an Australian illustrator, Mark Knight. In the cartoon, Williams is portrayed with exaggerated lips and tongue, as well as curly hair rising from the top of her head as she stomped on her tennis racket. The cartoon sparked wide outrage and has been deemed racist. To discuss the struggle of modern black women, I'm joined in studio by writer Atambile Masola. Very happy Saturday to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Just let's go way back to the incident of the final. When you saw how that situation played itself out, what was going on, Jay, in your mind?
I mean, on the one hand, I stand for Serena. So on the one hand, I'm like, yes, girl, you're doing the things.
Right.
But on the other hand, I was just so exhausted that you can be a Serena Williams and still be that demeaned and that belittled, and that she still needs to fight for herself in that position. And that her stature doesn't allow her, it doesn't protect her from the things that black women have to deal with.
Right.
So, I mean, I went back to the moments of just, this is what it is, you know, at a global scale, it's a macrocosm of what we deal with in our everyday lives. And the way that she just handled it, for me, it kind of elided the pain and the hurt in a sense, because she stepped in, she didn't let them walk all over her, and she showed up for herself, and she showed up for many women.
For you, did it highlight the issue of racism or rather sexism? Naomi Osaka is half Haitian, half Japanese. So some people are saying, well, we can't really say it's a race issue, but more a sexism issue.
It's all of it. I mean, this idea that we must now separate these things, it just becomes ridiculous, because it's all of it. And particularly in relation to Serena Williams, there's an entire history of how her body has been portrayed, of how she's been, you know, the words that are used to describe her. And I don't think this is the first cartoon. This is the most aggressive and the most vile that we've seen. But it's part of a whole conversation about Serena Williams' body and how she shows up. And she's constantly reminding people that when white male tennis players do half or even double what she does, nothing happens to them. And so she gets a game point, she loses a point for something that we've seen. I mean, she says she's heard tennis players call umpires worse things. She called him a thief. And, you know, she's like, that's not even half of what I've heard before. So it's all those things. And I think the sort of the angry black woman trope, people feed into that without even realizing it. So the umpire, I think, was just playing into those things without even realizing it, that you punish black women more because, I mean, and it's the same thing, I guess, with black men as well in the American context, is that you punish them more because they are inherently threatening, that the way that their bodies show up is inherently makes you insecure. So for me, it's all of those things. I don't think it's useful for us to separate. And unfortunately, I mean, with Naomi Osaka, you can't even celebrate the moment, her moment, you know, and that for the first time a Japanese, a Haitian woman, two women of color, in a sense.
She grew up
the stage, and
the
we can't even talk about that because now we must be dealing with this white man who's kind of hijacked the moment.
Is it not all a distraction?
It's always a distraction. So my favorite is Toni Morrison's quote. She says, the problem with racism is that it's a distraction, so it keeps you from doing the thing. So they say that you've got a big head and you've got to keep proving, you know, with the size of your head. They say you've got no history, so you spend all this time looking up and dredging up your history. She's like, none of that is necessary. You know, there's just so many other things to do. And the fact that both these women's moments were just stripped away from them is part of the distraction, and that we can't celebrate Naomi fully.
Be that as in may, a lot of comparisons have been made between Serena Williams and Caster Semenya. She's faced so much. We know her journey. We've been following her journey. But some people saying she's so graceful in everything that has happened to her, and Serena was just being a big baby. Is that a fair assessment to make?
There's no such thing. I think Serena did the things that were supposed to be there, and I think Caster deals with it in a certain way. It's possibly personality. I do think, I mean, you can't compare them in a sense. They're two different people, and so they're going to show up for themselves in different ways. Also, the comparisons are not useful. One person makes a different set of choices. It's not like everybody has a black woman need to behave in a particular way.
There's no standard.
There's no standard. in the moment to protect themselves. So this idea that we must compare and that the standard then is be graceful or keep quiet. No, the standard is if Kasta wants to keep quiet because her belief system is she'll be vindicated through her silence, that's fine. Serena yena maefuna ukukhuluma and she'll be vindicated through speaking for herself, that's also fine. We must be able to see the different iterations and the ways in which women can show up for themselves publicly.
We're just talking about women who are in the spotlight, but there's many other women who are not in the spotlight who face similar issues on a daily basis. We'll discuss that when we come back from the break. Do stay with us.